Hi Adrian, really lovely to see you again, and your Didge. It wouldn't be the same without him.
No, I've got my
Or
didgeridoo.
we're going to be talking about finding ourselves on journeys today.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really important thing to talk about, and I've never spoken about this before to people. I think when you take yourself out of the environment that you're in and go somewhere else, you can find so much more. I've just come back from the UK and I learnt so much about myself, and it wasn't all good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, anything's good stuff in the end.
Into the shadow.
But there was quite a lot of shadow that comes out, because obviously if you're going to where you were born, you've still got the people who think that you're the same person as you were back then, and you're not, and they're trying to shove you back into the box that you know you want to be, or they want you to be, and you once you've come out and you sprung out of that box, there's no going back into that.
Trying to stuff you back in the box is not easy.
it's not going to work. But then I did other parts of the UK, and I went to Madrid, where I had never been before, and I learnt so much about myself. And I think for me, I love travel. For the last couple of years, I've travelled around the world a couple of times, which is so nice to be able to do that. And I know that you do journeys with people as well, and you take people out to explore and find their inner selves. So that's the topic today.
So I always say there's many ways to journey. There's the internal journey, there's the external journey that we do by ourselves, and we do the solo journey, and then there's the group work. So for me, there's a whole combination of different ways to journey. One is through meditation, and for me, the didgeridoo is a great way to journey inward, because when I drop into that meditation zone with the didge, I really can allow the imagination to flow, and I can journey with the imagination, and it's amazing. There's no limits to where I go, which is beautiful. You know, from here to Sirius or the Pleiades, or
you don't even have to stay on this world.
So I can just
no travel time.
No travel time. No etiquette. And it's all first class, and it's really easy to travel in that way. If there's if there's a gateway to be able to do it. For me, it's about meditation. And I think meditation and traveling through meditation is such an easy way to escape the 3D world and just go off and do some travel and explore. Jump into different realms and go and explore that. So that's one way I would encourage people to find a meditation practice, perhaps something like the didge or the drum, and do some journey.
I love drumming.
Yeah, a lot of people do the djembe and do the drumming. The African drum, the djembe, is just beautiful once you get that rhythm happening. I go to Africa too. That's another thing I do. I take people there on the 21-day journey from Cape Town all the way up into Zimbabwe. So we do this beautiful meandering journey through Africa for 21 days, and we do lots of meditation, certainly hear drums, and I certainly take my didgeridoo with me, and we do lots of journeying. And that's more about journeying probably for two reasons. One is to find out more about ourselves from the spiritual perspective, but also feeling the land of Africa and really getting a sense of the flora, the fauna, and the people of Africa. So that's really, really quite a powerful journey. And it's amazing what comes up for people from the emotional perspective on those journeys as well. So it's physically challenging, emotionally challenging, and spiritually challenging to get to that space. I've got a good team of co-facilitators in Africa. I lived there for 2 years, and my wife Eileen is from South Africa. So I did a lot of my own spiritual development, my own process in Africa. So I have a very strong connection to that land. So I did some by myself, but also in group. Particularly around the animals, it's good to do it in groups. Lions are in the hyenas and buffalo and those things. It's very wise. I've got a Zulu guide that I work with, Zakilo. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. He's a big, strong Zulu guide, and he has a loaded rifle with him all the time, just in case someone goes right with us. Hasn't yet, as yet. So we'll be back there next year in August with a group of people walking the lands of Africa. So that'll be very, very special. So it's one of the special things I do for myself every couple of years is take myself off on a trek with people. I also go by myself. One memorable trip I did was when I was 37, so that was 16 years ago. I went to the little desert on the Victorian border, and I spent 5 days out there by myself doing my vision quest. And that was a really empowering and challenging and frightening time for me, because there was nobody else there to rescue me, there was nobody else there to even talk to, and I had quite a powerful experience there. But I'm not sure whether it was imagination or real, but I was in the company of a Black Panther for 5 days. So So that was an initiation process I went through by myself. And I've written a book about it. It's coming out next year. So I'm quite excited about sharing that experience. Don't recommend it for everybody unless you're really, really ready to go in the desert by yourself. It's dangerous, and I was lucky to come out of it alive from a few experiences. I have to read the book to find out why. But it was quite an inner journey for me. So yeah, the group work, the individual work, the meditative work. And then the other aspect of journeying is going back to your roots. I know you've just been back to England, as you mentioned, and I was back last year as well. And I think sometimes the importance of going back to see where we're from is really, really important. I know you were back there and you said you had some quite amazing experiences yourself. You went to Stonehenge or Avebury?
Yeah, I did. It was. I went to some beautiful places. I travelled around the UK 3 times in the 4 months I was there, and so I went to Wales and I went up to Liverpool and Manchester and down to Devon and down to Hastings. So literally I covered the whole of it. Wow. But yeah, it was just, for me, it wasn't so much seeing the sacred places. I did go to Avebury, but it was more of the connection with my friends and seeing the change in me, and seeing the people that have grown the same as me as well. You know, it's like we are on a journey of life, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And there are people that are you know, recent season or lifetime, and some people that you don't resonate with anymore, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. You know, you must have been very good friends at one point, but we go in different parts or different ways, and what I realise is that's okay. You know, we just. And a lot of my friends chose to have families and settle down, and I've travelled the world and I've got my business, and we really don't have much in common anymore, and that's fine. And I went back and I realised that a lot of people don't resonate with me anymore, and there was a lot of grief coming up with that and a lot of emotions that I had to deal with. But ultimately, I love the person that I am now, and I love the life that I've created here. So it was amazing to go back to that and feel all of those emotions and then heal those emotions. So for me, going back to the motherland was just an amazing experience for me. But yeah, very up and down emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, you know, I really hit a fairly severe depression over there as well. But I had I was staying with some beautiful friends of mine, and they were just like, oh, come on, pick you up. And suddenly I was okay within 2 days. It never gripped me like it used to anymore, but it was really lovely. It sort of saw the dark side as well as the light side as well, and it was an amazing experience for that. I learnt so much. I feel like I'm rambling now because I can't put it into words, the experience, but it was. And I had some spiritual in times as well that I still can't put into words. I started seeing these different dimensions, and it's and that's continued since I've been back here. So it's triggered something within me that's also changing me even further.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, amazing.
And England has a lot of sacred spots, isn't it? I was back there in July last year, and in June, July last year, and we were there just around the solstice. And I was actually heading to Avebury as well from Gloucestershire, where I'm from, and I was driving through these little lanes in the car, and my one wish when I left Australia was I want to sit in a crop circle. It was just something I set my mind to. So I got the crop circle site, and what they do on the crop circle site, they give you the coordinates of the crop circles. Okay. So we were driving towards Avebury. I think we were about...
That would have been smart, because I was just looking in the fields for
So we were about 30 k's from Avebury, and I said to Eileen, I'm just going to pull over on the side of the road because I'm sensing there's a crop circle quite close, and just tuned in and like, oh, there's one here, just knew. So I got my phone out and pushed in the crop circle, and the coordinates came up and it said, you are 1/3 of a mile from a crop circle.
Wow.
So like 3 minutes from a crop circle. So I did a UE in the car, went up this little country lane, looked over the field, and there's this 250-metre crop circle that had only been done on the solstice 3 days before. And it was a 3D rose.
Wow.
It was absolutely magnificent. So I grabbed my trusty ditch and my daughter and my wife, and we walked across the field, and we walked in to the centre of the crop circle. I spent 2.5 hours in there, tuning in, meditating, playing ditch, and downloading information or whatever.
What did it feel like? Because I've never been in one. It's something that I've always wanted to do, but I never have. The
whole time I was there was an electric pulse. There was a pulse of thing of a high vibration, or that was constant for me. There was this, it's almost like, it wasn't a sound, but if I had to put a sound to it, it would be like the ringing in the ears. A lot of people experience that ringing in the ears, that high-pitched ring.
Yeah.
I usually say if you hear ringing out of the phone, like phone goes on the other side, because there's usually a message from me. So it was, vibrationally, it was a bit like that. It was like the ringing of the ears, but it wasn't audible. It was a feeling of what we were feeling. And there was an electric current in there. And what came through for me, I did get some insights, I believe, of what crop circles are and where they're from. I won't go into that now, but it was very, very clear for me of my interpretation of how they're formed and where they come from. And it's definitely not Doug and Dave with a bit of string and a plank of wood. It's way beyond that. This thing was absolute 3D, from an above perspective. I actually went on the site and looked at their aerial photographs, and it's just a magnificent 3D rose. And funnily enough, the days before that, the photographs we were taking of each other mostly were around roses. We were walking through villages and smiling with roses, and I think Arlene had a rose shirt on, and so there was this whole rose connection, and I followed the Rosicrucian stream in terms of my spiritual path. So it felt really meaningful to sit in this 3D rose in England. It was a real homecoming. Very, very special for me. So I've fulfilled that. I've had my crop circle now experience, and if I'm back there again in the next couple of years, I'll be certainly seeking more, because they are quite a phenomenon. And what amazes me is they're not front pages of newspapers every week in the UK as a phenomenon. It's the most amazing phenomenon on the planet right now, and they're being ignored. So it's pretty weird for me, the whole thing. It's still seen as a hoax.
Well, we're talking about media, aren't we, here? So let's not go there.
Yeah, no, let's not get into it. So that whole idea of spiritual journey, to the physical, and then finding that place within the physical to do the inner journey as well. So for me, there was a real match of doing that in the UK. I found the physical journey by physically going there, but then I got into the transcendental side of things, to the meditation and playing the beach in that space. So it was a pretty powerful place to go and journey.
Yeah. And what I'm getting here from the conversation is, whatever form of travel you do, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, you always get the spiritual and mental part of it. There's always, I did the physical with my family, but it was through that, and I wasn't going there to find myself or realise I wasn't in the box anymore, but just because of experiences that happened to me, I realised this, and so there was a real spiritual slap on the back for me to say, hey, well done, you've really changed, and you've actually grown into the person that you always wanted to be. But that was out of a physical act rather than me going to seek it. Whereas I did a Vipassana retreat a few years ago, and that's 10 days of absolute silence, no eye contact. I'm sure you've done one as well.
I've actually done one. I did work in a meditation centre for many years, but not Vipassana, different type of meditation, similar.
It was profound for me because I talk a lot, and my friends are like, you can't get still for 2 minutes, and you can't keep quiet, so you're not going to be able to do 10 days. And I didn't think I could either. But there's something that, one, I'm very determined and I don't like to give up. And two, I had a friend that said to me, oh, you'll only last 2 days, and that was the thing that kept me going.
There you go, good friend.
But it was amazing, and I'm so happy that I stuck with it, because there were a few times there where I just thought, I can't do this anymore. But I can't put into words the experiences that I had there, because there are no words for it. It was just amazing. And I think whether it's to go to Africa or go to your homeland, or whether it's to go to a meditation retreat, recommend going on a journey, because it gets you out of where you are right now in your daily life, in the trudge of going to work and family, and when you're in that, you get so busy that you forget to look inwards. So I think it's really vital that we go on these journeys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that even if it's just jumping on a bus or a train, or wherever you go, be conscious of the travel. I see a lot of people do a bit of public transport here in Sydney, and I don't do the head things with the music. It's just something, because I like to be conscious and awake and aware of all my surroundings, because in that I'm learning constantly. I'm watching people, I'm getting the sounds, I'm getting the vibrations. So my personal take is, I try not to get on my phone or put the ear things in when I'm travelling particularly in public transport, because I like to engage in the energy of what I'm in. And if I'm inward in my headphones or my phone on some game or doing something, I'm not in the moment of the travel. So for me, travelling is also about being in the moment. I think there's a great saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So for me, if I'm travelling somewhere, it's about the journey.
That's really interesting, because I would say the opposite is for me. I pick up people's energies so much, and sometimes I don't want to. So if I'm putting music in my ears, then I'm in my own little world, and then I can go inwards, you know, rather than feeling everyone else's. So I think, you know, the take home on this is do whatever feels good for you, because we are all completely different.
But do something. Last weekend I was in Byron Bay, and a good friend of mine, Rama, took a group of us men to the top of Wollongong, Mount Warning, and that was the same. And we left at 4 o'clock in the morning to get the sunrise, and we meandered up, and there were lots of people getting to the top and jogging. There's a lot of jogging clubs and running clubs, and they were all timing each other to get to the top. And I was very aware of, it wasn't about getting to the top for me, it was about the journey. I saw snakes, and I saw birds, and I saw spiders, and I smelt the roses, and I felt leaves, and then I was really in the journey, which is another way of exploring. And for other people, it is about, you know, getting there at a certain time and breaking their record and being there. It's still a journey. So there's many ways to journey. I think it is right to find out what the reason for the journey is. What's the quest behind the journey? I think that's always a good question. What am I trying to receive for myself from my journey? Getting clear from it. And, oftentimes, if we have a question, then we can have a profound answer coming through for us. Setting the intention of asking something of ourselves on the journey. And I certainly did that at Wollongong. There was something specific I was working through. I had a question, and at the end of the 2.5 hours coming back down, I had my answer. And it was pretty profound what I had. So I would suggest people, find out where you're going to journey. Go and do something. Jump on a bus today, or go for a walk today, but go and do a journey of some sort, I'd say, and make it profound. Make it different than usual. And a good way to do that is to go somewhere new. So I would challenge everybody, go and pick somewhere new, whether it's somewhere close or whether you're going to go to Timbuktu. But go somewhere new this year. That would be my challenge to everybody this year.
So coming back to that, your trip, the people that come on the trip with you, what have their intentions been, and what have they benefited? What have been some of their benefits?
I'd say one is the majesty of Africa. People just want to go and experience hyenas and lions and elephants and crocodiles and buffalo and all those amazing things that Africa has to offer. It's pretty wild up there, and we certainly go to a couple of wild places. We go to a place near Durban, a national park there, and we do a walking safari where it's 3 days walking and 2 nights with no tents. So we take roll mats and sleeping bags, and we sleep on the dry riverbed or on the rocks with 2 armed rangers. And we are right out there. There's no fences, there's no tents, there's nothing to stop any animal coming towards us, except we do have a little fire at night, but that's apparently it's not a disincentive for animals. It's a bit of a myth.
They like to keep warm too.
Yeah, they like to keep warm. And we had a beautiful experience when we woke up on the second morning of the camp, where we had the 2 white rhino 30 metres in front of us in the camp. So me and this one other person, we crept forward, and very slowly we got to about 20 metres of this third white rhino. Luckily they're quite blind, they just have different senses. But we were very quiet in the sand and just sat and were engaging with this white rhino. It was all elephant and crocodile and lion and hyena, monkeys obviously. They're pretty spectacular. So the one thing they're looking for is that experience of raw Africa. And I think for other people also it's about finding themselves in their journey as well. So a lot of it's about we do a lot of meditation, about getting people on a spiritual path or deepening their spiritual path. We go to quite a few caves that are, mankind's been doing there for 40,000 years, and we go to the rock paintings. And there are some specific places where those rock paintings are that my friend Dean, who's been studying the region for 30 years, he's been drawing up the connection between those sacred sites and the aligning different planets. And on certain days in certain places, if you sit in these sacred spaces in these caves, some of the rock has been so worn after thousands of people sitting in the same spot we sit down in that place at a certain time, look through a hole in a rock, and it'll align you to a planet or the sunrise or the sunset on certain days. That's been going on for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And when people get that experience, it takes them to another place. It takes them into, if you like, the shamanic place or the cosmic place. That's a deep thing that Africa and Australia too, of course, still has to offer, is that shamanic journey. So a lot of people are looking for that inner shaman, I would say, on some level as well. They get that experience by experiencing that, but also going to see shamans themselves and having readings about the shamans in Africa. So I'd say it's twofold. It's probably the animals and the countryside, and then the people, and then that inner shamanic calling. A lot of people I've walked with in Africa get a sense of being a shaman or wanting to be a shaman or connecting to that shamanistic world. And that's really powerful. And it certainly brings it up. We had a 15-year-old from Germany join us for half the tour 2 years ago. And we told his mum she couldn't come because I wanted to do a bit of work with him in terms of getting him into his young man. So myself and the Zulu guy, Sakilo, took him on a bit of a journey. And he was the night guard for a while, sitting around the fire, protecting the whole camp from the animals. And that was his initiation in many ways. So you can imagine a 15, 16-year-old young man going back to Germany saying, guess what I did? I sat around a fire, protecting a group of people from lions, hyenas and elephants and rhino. And what a beautiful initiation for a young man. So, and you don't have to be young to do initiation either. You can still be initiated at 75 years old. So Africa has a lot to offer in that way, as does Australia. But there's something raw about Africa. I think it's the word lion.
Fair enough.
There's something about walking and realising there could be a lion around the corner. In Australia it could be a dingo or perhaps a crocodile. But they don't quite have the same wildlife as the lion or the hyena or rhino.
Not as big.
Pretty scary stuff.
So as you've got your didge with you, I'm just wondering whether you could finish off with the sounds of travel.
Love to. And, so I would encourage people to tune in to listen to the didge and maybe close their eyes and do a little bit of internal travel and just see what imagination comes and let them float off and do their own travel into whatever realms you feel like. Be guided by the didgeridoo. So.
Well, I do that too.
You can do that too, so yes. A journey with the didge, isn't it?
I love it. It's very deep. You go very deep very quickly.
Yeah,
don't you?
really. Yeah, certainly takes me on my journeys, and particularly if I want to have a bit of Adrian space, straight into the didge and see you later. I'm gone. So it's a beautiful place to journey. It really is.
Well, I just feel completely calm already.
Yeah.
The interview's going to have to finish. So, if anybody wants to find you or wants to come on a journey with you, Where do they find you?
Okay. Two things. One is adrianhanks.com, which is my website, but the other is thespiritofafricajourney.com. So thespiritofafricajourney.com. There's actually some videos on there from the journey we did 2 years ago, so to give people more of a sense of what the journey's about. And I'm taking 8 people in August next year on a 21-day journey to Africa. So yeah, we'd love to have you on board as well, Sharon. See what we can manifest. Be great. So, yeah,
wow,
thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure.
See you again.
Absolutely, thank you.